This is such a pain. Why does my magic have to work against my abilities so much? Sorry, kid, that's just the hand you were dealt. I told you. That being a seals mage wasn't to your benefit. None of it works to your benefit. Being a seals mage is basically the worst hand you could possibly be dealt, both in terms of combat and in use of your demonic abilities. It's all bad. There are very few substances strong enough to withstand the sheer amount of energy you're most likely going to produce by the end of your lifetime. By the time you're an adult, I surmise that you'll most likely be somewhere in the neighborhood of your father's demonic energy level. Which, as I said, is freaking absurd. Which means it'll be harder and harder to do seals in light material like paper as you get older. So your control has to be finer. So, get cracking, draw another seal and start again. Fine, Taleon said, grabbing another piece of paper and beginning to write a seal down. His ink quill and well set next to the paper, he began the process of writing out another seal. As he did, he dipped his quill into the ink, beginning to bring it over to the paper and try to write a seal. He, unfortunately, dripped some of the ink on his hand as he was going over to the seal, and immediately tried to wipe it off, but wasn't having too much luck of it, as the ink smudged and left a large black streak on his hand. Oh man, how hard is this stuff to get off? Well, pretty hard. I mean, a good amount of scrubbing should do. But that's not what you should be worried about. It's just some ink. Forget about it, Salas said, trying to hurry things along. Taleon just looked at the smudge, being reasonably upset and still annoyed in the process of creating these seals, all of them being so weak they couldn't take a single spell. And he had to be so delicate about it. And as he stared at that smudge on his hand, a thought occurred to Taleon. Hey, teacher, Taleon said, still staring at the smudge. Why aren't you working? We don't have all day, kid. In fact, you've already used up most of your day. We're going to have to go back soon. The sun is going to be setting any time. Yeah, I just had a question for you. Well, maybe a few questions. You said that the ink works because I put my blood into it, right? Yes. As I said, blood is a very powerful conduit for magical energy. Because blood, just like the rest of your body, is naturally attuned to the channeling of magical energy. It's basically made for it, and thus magical energy channels through it without much of an issue. It's the rest of the substances that you place it on that really can't stand intense strain. So, if blood is a part of me, and blood transmits magical energy, just like the rest of my body, then that means the rest of my body is a perfect conduit for transmitting magical energy and demonic energy, right? Yes. Why are you repeating me? Well, it's just I had a thought. Fine, kid. Lay it on me. What's your thought? Well, if magical seals work by transmitting my demonic energy into the seal so that I don't have to actually concentrate on the spell, then why doesn't someone just write the seal on their body? I mean, your body is already a conduit for magical energy, so wouldn't that work? Well, wait a second, Salas said, beginning to look at Taleon very closely, raising his eyebrow. Finally noting that Taleon was staring at the smudge on his hand. So, would that work or not? For a moment, his teacher sat there, seeming, dumbfounded. as if he didn't really know how to respond. Well, I'm gonna be honest, kid. That's a new one. I've never heard anyone consider doing that. But it would be extremely taxing. I don't think it was a very efficient method. Well, why not? Think about it, kid. A magical spell requires that you draw the seal for the specific spell. And there are countless different kinds of spells, meaning that you'd have to draw the seal every time you wanted to cast the spell. Or any spell. With all of that different drawing, everything would simply start to overlap. Even if it did function, it would only function for a short time, or at least I think. Once you tried to replace whatever spell you placed in any specific area, everything would start to smudge, overlap, and then the efficiency of the seal would basically go to shit. And that's if it actually worked. Well, I'm not sure about that, Taleon said. Kid, I think I know what I'm talking about a little bit better than you. Would you listen to me? Look, you said that drawing a seal can create a permanent fixture in a strong enough object, something that can stand the magic flowing through it, right? Yes. Once again, you're repeating me. And if my body is a perfect conduit for magical energy that doesn't have to be replaced and won't burn away when I use it, then wouldn't it be possible to create a seal that had all of the necessary parts for any spell? All of the spells that you've shown me all work by playing that game of connect the dots that you showed me, meaning that you have to organize how the magic passes through. So what happens if you produce a seal that has symbols on it, but there's no lines connecting them? Does the magic still go to the circles that didn't have any lines connecting? Well, Kid, you are frustrating me, Sailor said, placing his hand over his face. Look, I don't know that much about magic. I don't know. You're talking about experimenting with magic. You can't even cast one spell yet. What you're talking about is basically something that, well, I've never even heard of anyone trying to attempt. It sounds sort of ridiculous, but at the same time, it also sounds sort of plausible. And the truth is, I don't know. Hey, you said being creative was an important part of being able to use your powers, right? Well, I'm being creative. You say that being a seals mage stops me from being able to quickly use spells when I want to. And that not only that, the fragility of the substances that I imbue my magic into makes it hard to be precise when casting a spell, and makes the process take longer. So if I use my body as the conduit rather than a piece of paper, then I should be able to be more quick about it, right? Kid, I don't even know if this is going to work. Well, then why don't we try? Just do one spell as an experiment. Kid, I don't understand enough about magic to know what the results would be if you tried something like that. For all I know, whatever you draw that seal on could blow up. You like having hands and feet and arms and legs and stuff, don't you? So, how about we just skip over the dangerous experimentation and just get back to the regular training? No, Taleon said, crossing his arms and looking away in somewhat of a huff. I have a good idea and I want to try it. If it's dangerous, then so be it. I mean, your training isn't exactly safe. What's the difference for this? The only thing that I can tell is that it's my idea and not yours. You are so frustrating. Do you know what your mother's going to do if you come back without an arm or a leg? Or if I have to go back and tell her that you blew yourself up? Sorry, ma'am, your son's dead now, Sailor said, staring down at Taleon, who still absolutely refused to look at him. Simply sitting there, arms crossed, looking away angrily.